I'm Katie.
And I'm Corey.
And we moved here, I guess, about 20 months ago. We're creeping up on 2 years that we moved from Michigan to North Carolina. And we've been attending the Refuge for
About 18 months.
Probably about 18 months, yeah. We are high school sweethearts. We grew up in the same town, really as our whole life. Went to the same church he was there for about 34 years. I was there for 18 years. And it planted the foundation of our relationship with the Lord. And it was a great church. It's interesting that the theme this month is about being grateful but not satisfied. And that describes probably how we felt. Like I was so grateful for the church that we grew up in, then we got married, but I started feeling like this wrestling that I had with the Lord in church, that there was just something more that I wanted to tap into, and it just wasn't easy to grab onto where we were at that time. So we spent a lot of time in prayer and ended up pulling away from the church that we were in, which was one of the hardest things we've ever done. Our family was there, our kids were close with everyone. We helped plan a church, and then COVID hit, and that changed everything, which there was a lot of blessings in that. We pulled our kids out of school. I homeschooled them. We started having a desire to find a place where we could raise our kids, that they would be around like-minded people and that their faith could grow as well. And so we started praying about a move.
We met a family in a restaurant in Orlando, Florida, of all places. I said, "Where are you guys from?" He said, "We just left Michigan and we moved to North Carolina." And we found out they moved to Mooresville. And they said, "If you come to Mooresville and don't stay with us, we're going to be offended. And you don't make me that offer, right? I will take you up on it."
Yes.
And 6 weeks later, we made the journey, fully expecting this just to be, to put this whole desire to bed to move. And that's not what happened. In fact, it just, door after door kept opening up.
We started thinking specifically about our kids, because this move was, we want our kids to be surrounded by other people that are raising kids the way that we are, and we were homeschooling at the time, but to be honest with you, that wasn't what I saw myself doing long term. So if we move here, what does that look like? So the friend that made us a connection here in Mooresville had mentioned a specific school here. In order for our kids to get into the school, it was gonna have to be a miracle. So that became our prayer. Lord, if all 3 of our kids get into this school,
We'll know.
We'll sell our house and we'll go. So we started praying. Corey had a great job at the time. We had worked hard to establish our home, and he had worked hard to get where he was in his job, but it just didn't feel like it was where we were supposed to be long term. He started doing some interviewing down here. He was coming down for a second interview for a job, and we got a phone call one day. We were sitting on the stairs, and they decided to pull funding from this particular job. And it was kind of what was giving us like that comfort, making us feel a little bit more control. If we were gonna move, we'd have a job, this will work.
And through our brokenness that same day, 45 minutes later, the school calls. She says, "I don't have time to explain. I need your kids' paperwork." And that just started this process. This was a Friday. 3 days later, we listed our home on a Monday and said, throw caution to the wind.
Our real faith started coming into action. We're like, he has no job, but we asked the Lord for something very specific. We asked for him to allow our kids to get in this school, and if he did, that we would go. And so, I mean, we couldn't deny that this all happened rather quickly, so a few people knew we'd been praying for that. Yes, they got in, so we're gonna go. So listing our house and coming down here, we've never had to step out the way we did when we decided to come with nothing. Our parents were like, "What, you're going down with no job?" That seemed very crazy to everybody that we were leaving and had no plans once we got down here. But God, we knew that we'd prayed for something, so we figured, you know what? The Lord wants us to go, but he doesn't want us to go with a job. He has something else planned.
To look back and the way that God has provided has been so strategic, and things have come in that only can be explained by God. And we sit back and sometimes we chuckle and we laugh. That this was his plan for us to get here, but it was gonna have to be so extreme that he would get all the glory and all the credit for it. You can picture them holding the Ark of the Covenant, and they're at the edge of the Jordan, and they're instructed to step into the water. And there's this mindset that if I'm holding a corner of the Ark, it can't be this like, "Hey, are you sure?" Or "Yeah, I'm sure. Are you sure?" It has to be like this, all on 3, we're gonna go. And there was that mindset for our family. And I can recall us standing at the threshold of the driveway to the road, and we just decided as a family, that step represented like our faith. And even though everything was loaded, the house was sold, we didn't have a choice, we were going now, we were homeless. That was like so significant for us, where we literally walked across into the road, into the unknown, into the Jordan, and we literally, there's this mindset that if God doesn't do what he promised us he would do, well, they would have died. We would have failed. We would have looked like fools, but he did, and we had enough faith to trust him.
What we experienced when we walked into this space and how the Holy Spirit was so present, it was something that we'd longed for so long, and we thought that all of those things that we did and the faith that we had to get somewhere, it was like the Lord was telling us, I have something, you have to trust me. It was here. Our faith has grown so much since we got here. Our kids' faith has grown so much.
People have asked, why'd you move? Why'd you move? What are you going for? And the truth was, we were going for what we thought was better climate, which we found, and more conservativeness.
Yeah.
And then now, we're not convinced that God didn't move us here for the refuge, and everything else was just a bonus. Everything else was just a byproduct of the faith.
But some of the hunger that we had to get to a place where we could just be in the presence of the Lord and feel just his comfort and the community of him, when we got here, we were like, this is where his people are. This is where people love him and want to worship him. His presence is absolutely here. That peace fell, and we knew we were home. I mean, this has been bigger than we could have ever imagined being here at the refuge. It's more than we could have ever dreamed for a home for us.